Well, hello, everyone. I am Matt Williamson, and congratulations to the Kansas City Chiefs. They are back-to-back Super Bowl champions and are in the midst of a true dynasty. No question about that. When Pat Mahomes, a 6-year starter now, when a terrible year for him is losing in the AFC Championship, that is a dynasty. And I don't think they're going away anytime soon, unfortunately, for Steelers purposes. All you Steelers fans out there are going to love hearing that, but you're probably not shocked. We're going to get to how this game correlates to the Steelers in a minute. But tremendous job by both defenses for most of the game, but mostly Kansas City's. Spagnuolo was really aggressive. They were great tackling, which was huge, something we talked about a lot. After the catch stuff was going to be giant in this game on both sides. And I thought both defenses did a pretty nice job limiting production after the catch, not to mention shutting down the run. I mean, really well tackling defenses, particularly Kansas City. So the Chiefs blitzed at a very, very high rate, like half of their snaps. And a lot of them early on were basically run blitzes, designed to stop the run behind the line of scrimmage or at the line of scrimmage, create defensive big plays in the run game, for the defense, negative plays, etc. And the Niners never really were able to make them pay for it over the top with a big play. You live by the blitz, you die by the blitz, but they didn't die by it because the Niners weren't able to convert on the deep ball and big plays in general. And frankly, I thought Purdy played really well, better than I would have expected under the circumstances. But it did show up, him versus Mahomes, of course, and judging everyone against Mahomes, and we'll get to that soon. It's pretty unfair because he's that good, and I think he's only getting better. But Purdy's lack of big play ability within the pocket shows up here. Not that he's a bad athlete. He's a good athlete. He's a better athlete than a lot of people give him credit for. But there's something to be said for being able to maneuver in the pocket, throw one off balance, Mahomesian type stuff. Purdy doesn't have a lot of that to his game. That being said, this game was very winnable by the Niners. There's going to be a lot of consternation. Can anybody beat the Chiefs? Can the Steelers have any chance unless they get the next Mahomes? I don't know that answer, but I don't think there is a next Mahomes for one thing. So let's take a quick break, talk a little bit more about the other side of the ball and Mahomes as well. Really good game, by the way, and especially down the stretch. Quite the atmosphere and quite the situation in Vegas and all that good stuff too. But we'll be back in a minute. First off, I want to tell you a little bit about BetOnline. BetOnline is your number one source for playoff football odds, stats, trends, and lines, and they have so much more too now that the season's over. With everything from point spreads to hundreds of player performance props, with dozens of odds, props, and information on hundreds of sports, events, politics, and entertainment, you can access the world's best wagering information anytime from desktop or mobile device. Head to BetOnline today to stay updated on all the action. BetOnline, the game starts here. So, speaking of Mahomes, we know Kelsey started this game very slow. And I think the Niners had a very good game plan to basically say, that's a guy that can't beat us. And Reed and, of course, and all those guys made halftime adjustments. And I thought Mahomes, they were on the broadcast, made it sound like, oh, he's flabbergasted. He's, in over his head. I never thought that. I just thought he was under a lot of pressure. I just thought the people blocking for him were losing, especially Nick Bosa, who was unbelievable in this game. But Mahomes was pressured a lot in this game and had some bumps, and they didn't play great, but he only put the ball in harm's way once. He paid for it with that overthrow to Kelsey, and that was huge. This was not a real cleanly played game, especially the first half. Fumbles, red zone fumbles, special teams. So let's talk about that for a second. How valuable are special teams? That was maybe the difference in this game. the punt that hit off the Niners' foot, and then poor Ray McLeod had to try to field it. Good luck with that. Was the play of the game. Special teams were monstrous, and I talked about that going in. That favored the Chiefs going in. That held up. But Mahomes was unbelievable, especially down the stretch. I mean, when it mattered most, and in terms of dealing with pressure and not making mistakes due to that pressure for most of the game. But down the stretch, he was super sharp. Kelsey got rolling. I mean, that feels sort of inevitable. And folks, he's only 28 years old. And I think he's getting better mentally, processing all those things, continue to improve and improve and improve. And his composure, all those type of things. So how do you beat him? Nobody knows that answer. You and I can't have that conversation. We don't know. But, I mean, the fact that the Steelers right now are going to bat with Kenny Pickett and question mark for next year doesn't bode well. I mean, that's for sure. I mean, how confident would you be if you were a Buffalo or Bengal or Charger or Raven or Jaguar fan right now? AFC quarterbacks, Houston, Steelers are a long way from getting to that level quarterback wise. And I think more and more, it's pretty obvious that those teams I just mentioned, amongst others, are still pretty far from the Chiefs quarterback wise, especially when you factor in the head coach and the defensive coordinator and the foundations there. And it sounds like Kelsey's going to give it another shot. And maybe they keep Chris Jones and Snead, who knows, so they are the big bad wolf. And I don't know how you solve that. Now, there has been some rumbling since we spoke last that it sounds unlikely that Rudolph will return. And it sounds likely that the Steelers will, at a minimum, kick the tires on Ryan Tannehill. There aren't many. I know that doesn't inspire you guys, especially after watching last night's game. I get it. I mean, I totally understand that. But I don't think trading 100 first-round picks to get to Caleb Williams is in the cards. I don't think Kirk Cousins signing makes a lot of sense, to be very honest with you. I would consider a Fields trade, but he's a long way from being at the Lamar Allen level, let alone the Mahomes level, and he's not going to be free. So there aren't a lot of options. One thing I thought about with Rudolph watching that game too, and this also correlates to the Arthur Smith offense, his immobility is a bit of a problem. I would like to bring him back. If he's not up for it, I understand. But I do think a more mobile player, and Tannehill certainly has more appeal to me than a statuesque quarterback. And Rudolph moves better now than when he came in the league, but still, that's not great for that. Tannehill we'll talk about later, especially if he gets signed. But I can see good and bad with it. He was pretty bad this past year, but he also was behind the worst blocking in the league. He is mobile. Would he be a coach, big brother, mentor to Pickett? Absolutely, and that has some value. All right, that's it for today. We'll talk a lot more Steelers, of course, this week. If there's anything you want to hear about, let me know, and we will go down that road. Over and out.